Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kendrick Show. That sounds so odd to me. And what we're talking about over the next series of weeks is what, behind the scenes, what it really takes to hit $1 million in your business. And this was important for me to do for you all because there's a lot of noise coming out in the online world. You're hearing everybody say all the things you need to do. And they're all important, but it's hard to prioritize. It's hard to pick and choose. And let's be honest, making $1 million is something that can seem really far out there, even if you know you're going to do it. And there are a lot of things that you wouldn't think of naturally that go into making money in your business, whether it's six figures or $1 million. So we've got experts from all over coming to talk to you about behind the scenes, what it takes to make $1 million. Now, today's guest expert is going to talk to you about some of the tangible things that you all need to do, can do, and should do to hit six figures, to hit $1 million, to hit multi-millions. And I trust this woman so much because she is whip smart. She's created how many businesses, Haley? 1, 2, 3, 12?
5.
5 businesses, all of them very successful financially. So she's somebody to listen to. And not only does she have the experience, but she has the education to back this up. Haley went to the infamous Duke University, and when she told me that, I was like, I'm so blown away, because that means she's got the experience and the intelligence to be able to come into this community and add value. So Haley Gray, welcome to this behind the scenes, what it takes to make $1 million in your business.
Thank you so much, Kendrick. I'm just blown away by your introduction.
Oh, yay! Yay, I like it. So, Haley, talk to us a little bit about Leadership Girl, your most current business, and tell us a little bit about what it is, who it's for. Tell me what you do.
So what we do with Leadership Girl is business coaching and consulting. We also have an array of services that we do done for you for our clients. So it's a one-stop shop for the people I'm working with if they choose to take advantage of those services. So we do a variety of things like business coaching, and then we'll pair it up with Facebook group management, or pair it up with virtual administration or online brand management and project management. So it's been a lot of fun to work with those clients and really take them by the hand and kind of walk them through the process of growing their business and getting all the pieces to come together.
Great. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about Leadership Girl in just a few minutes, but I want to talk to you about, based on your experience in the online world, what do you think are the 3 most important things that people need to do, can do, should do to make loads of money in their business?
Showing up consistently is the most important piece. If you can't show up consistently, you're not going to have a business. That would be my first piece of advice for anybody in any business whatsoever, whether it's an online business or offline. If you can't show up consistently, don't bother. The other thing that is particularly important or pertinent to the online world, but is also very real in the offline world, is you've got to get seen. If people don't know about your business, they can't do business with you. So if you're not telling people about your business, and that means every single person you meet online in a variety of different groups and a variety of different mediums, not just necessarily, say, a single social media platform, but going across to, say, LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, and really mastering 2 or 3 social media platforms exquisitely and telling the world about your business and really focusing on, letting people know that you exist. And then I would say probably the third key is building that credibility with people. So if you're showing up consistently and you are being credible and you're being real, and showing people that you have the education, that you have the experience, that you have the wherewithal and the knowledge to actually service them, that will get you business. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a Duke MBA, but it does help. But, really knowing what you're doing and showing people the value that you bring to them.
So Haley, you read my mind. I'm going to interject here, and y'all are going to see how my mind goes, and you're going to be probably like, this woman is psycho. But what's your Duke MBA in, Haley?
So an MBA is a Master's of Business Administration, and I have a concentration in entrepreneurship and innovation.
Bam! No wonder she's an expert for us to listen to, right? So, Haley, I want to talk a little bit about this consistency piece because, you know, if you run a business offline, right? Like let's say Louis Vuitton. You show up consistently, but you have a store, right? The store is there consistently, and you have people who are in the store who have business hours, right? So the face is there consistently. You have work hours. It's pretty easy, unless you do a poor job of opening and closing your storefront, to show up consistently. Do you agree?
I think that it is easier in some ways because you do have to have those consistent hours, but I've seen plenty of store owners that don't have consistent hours and that don't do those things. So that certainly does hurt them. But even if you just build it, people don't necessarily show up to it. So if you build a website or you build a brick and mortar store, people aren't necessarily going to know about you unless you tell them about you.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Absolutely. So it's interesting to me because I think some of the things that we see offline businesses do, we wonder how to do for ourselves. And so one of the first things I think if you were running an offline business would be when do we show up and how do we get the word out, right? Like what are our work hours and how do we get the word out? Which leads me to a very hard question. One of the most common questions I hear is, where are my people? Where are my customers? If I knew where they were, I'd go out and I'd engage. I'd go out and I'd do this. How do people find their customers, Haley?
Well, I think you have to know roughly who your ideal client is. If you don't know who you're looking for, if you say that you're looking for women between the ages of 20 and 90, it gets really hard to figure out where that person is going to hang out because that's not a real person. But if you talk about, you know, you're looking for a woman who's aged 35, who has this set of hobbies and who maybe has a kid or two that are roughly this age and that are doing these sorts of activities, then you start to know where to hunt that woman down and where you can find her. And then it becomes a lot easier to find her.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So let's say that you are a health coach looking for women who are, I'm making this up, but let's say 30 to 40, who are looking to eat clean, eat healthy, not necessarily looking to drop a ton of weight, but maybe would like to do that as well, but also want to do it the healthy way. So you're pretty clear on your ideal client. Mm-hmm. What's the next steps? Like, so where do we, you said, like, how do we figure out where those people are?
Well, I think you have to think about where those people are in their life.
Okay.
So for instance, a woman who's between the age of 30 and 40 who starts thinking about clean living probably has kids. Yes. So she may be hanging out in a mommy's group. Yes. Or a working moms group. So if you start saying, okay, this is what her life is like, then you can start extrapolating where she might be hanging out or what she might be doing.
Okay, this is beautiful. This is one of the things that I think a lot of people miss. They're like, well, my people aren't online. They're not in groups. Well, here's the thing. They may not be in groups that say, I want to eat clean or I want to eat healthy, but they're perhaps in groups depending on what's going on in their lives. So maybe they're in mommy groups. Maybe they're in overwhelm groups. Maybe they're in groups geared towards time management. Maybe they're in working moms, social media groups. So I think you're right. I love this idea of thinking about what's going on in their life and then meeting them where they are, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. I love it. I've never heard that before, by the way. So I love that. I would call that a piece of genius if you all are taking notes, or maybe you're just sitting back having coffee with me, enjoying Haley's expertise. But I would call that a piece of genius because, yes, what are these people going through? No, they may not be building a business, but they've got a life. You know, are they on? I'll tell you one place I go all the time on Facebook. All the time on Facebook when I'm reading, when I'm scrolling, in my news feed, because I've clicked it so much, I'm always going to Elle magazine or InStyle magazine to read. Always. And so they'll have a little snippet, and I buy it every time. The 5 lipstick colors redheads should never wear. Yep. Don't literally buy it, but I'll click it and I'll read it. Or straight off the streets from Paris Fashion Week, and I'll read it. So if I was your target for whatever reason, you know I'm clicking that. Now, how do you get in front of me there? Yes, Elle InStyle may be hard to get on, but at least you know this is what I'm clicking, this is what I'm reading. Right, Haley?
And that makes it actually very easy to target you as well, because then you've liked and favorited those pages on Facebook and you've told them that you like it. So then you can actually take ads and target it at that group of people. So you can either do paid ads or you can go into unpaid groups. There's a variety of different ways that you can find.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss with Facebook ads, with Facebook in general, is they think that, well, I don't coach people around business, so I can't utilize Facebook. And I'm telling you what, my goodness, something just popped up on my screen. I'm telling you what, that if you do this uncommonly well, you take the time to understand what's going on in your customers' lives, what they're liking, what they're doing, what they're experiencing, even if it doesn't relate to you and your business, you're going to make money. I know it. I know this to be true. Okay, so Haley, let's talk a little bit about your very first business. What was it?
So I've had several businesses that I've started concurrently, so it's been a little bit crazy. But we can talk about my home care agency, which is the first one that I started completely from scratch.
Okay, so tell us what it is.
So it's providing care for seniors in the home. It's a brick and mortar business. We send caregivers out to clients' homes and provide one-on-one companion and CNA care to our clients.
Okay, great. And when did you start that?
I started that in 2013.
Good grief.
So it's been 2.5 years.
Okay, what was the hardest thing for you about starting that business?
So there have been a variety of different challenges with that business. Recruiting really good caregivers, it has been and continues to be one of the biggest challenges in the industry as a whole. Making sure that our caregivers are actually doing what we tell them to do and what they need to do and how we tell them to do it, and actually providing exceptional service to our clients is probably the biggest challenge for us.
You know, it's so interesting, and Haley and I are friends, so she's probably heard me talk about this, but I didn't even know that this field existed. Like, I've been really fortunate in my life. I've had very healthy grandparents and parents, and just this weekend, my grandmother suffered a stroke, and we are talking about caregivers, and it just blows my mind. Like, my mind is boggled with all the things that we need to think about, and we need to, you know, can the caregiver do this? Can they do this? Can they do this? And then you're inviting someone into your home, right? And so it's got to be a good match. And you think about it when you have babies. Like, I thought about it when I had Hallianna and I invited someone into my home, but now it's again, and it's a whole industry, and what a beautiful industry to give back to seniors that allow them to stay in their homes longer and be with their loved one longer if they happen to still be together. I love this. What's been the best part about that job?
I think seeing the difference that we make in people's lives and enabling people to stay home longer, or even if they're not at home, even if we're providing one-on-one care in a facility, actually seeing that improvement in their quality of life and the length of life that they're living has been just incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. I can see that. It's like, that gives me chills to think about. So let's talk a little bit more. I said we were going to go back to Leadership Girl. So this is the business that Haley referenced at the beginning of the show, where she talks about helping online business owners, or helping business owners. And so, toughest part about starting that business, Haley?
Toughest part about starting that business was that I kind of had the impression that if I built it, they would come.
Yeah.
I would start blogging and people would naturally comment on my blog and they would share it. Yeah, that didn't happen.
Oh, Haley, I had this thought too. So I was like, I know how to sell, right? I mean, I'm just going to build it and they'll come. And oh my gosh, it's a rude awakening. It was for me.
A very rude awakening where it was like, what do you mean I've got, 20 visitors a day on my website?
I didn't even look at that. I wasn't even smart enough to know to look at that. I was just like, something's wrong. Like, I'm sending out all these blogs and there's no comments and nobody knows who I am. And it's a rude awakening. And I think that to hit any amount of money, any revenue goal, you have to understand and be okay with, if you build it, they will come. You got to add some things in between those two steps, right?
Yeah, you have to tell them that you built it.
Yeah, you have to tell them it's there. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so, Haley, what is a way that you told people that, so you troubleshot that? So we built a business, and then we saw an issue and we wanted to troubleshoot it. So what's a way that you troubleshot that problem of people didn't know I was there?
Well, so the first thing I did was I started sharing my blog posts in a variety of different groups on Facebook and stuff, which was moderately successful. It was so-so, but it didn't really get the kind of engagement that I was looking for. So I had to really look at, okay, I've got 800 likes on my Facebook page, but why am I not getting engagement? And then, okay, so then I'm in groups. Okay, now I'm sharing stuff. Okay, so why am I not getting engagement? So learning how to advertise and promote each individual blog and really tell people what they were going to get them to want to come through and click through and actually engage with me. But I also had to discover a whole lot of other ways to engage with people and connect with them and build those relationships.
So one of the things that I've seen Haley do that I think is really authentic, so it would play into, I'm not at all suggesting that you learned it from me, but when I look at it, I'm like, this is authentic selling style marketing selling. It's what I call a Southern way of doing business. You built a Facebook community, which a lot of people do, but you did it exceptionally well. And so, Haley, I'd love for you to talk about, I think, I've asked you before, like, how were you able to build this community so quickly? And because it feels to me, I'm sure it may not to you, but it feels to me like it was like that.
Right.
But one of the ways Haley put herself out there and Leadership Girl out there was through weekly webinars. Is that right?
That is true. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Weekly webinars kind of makes me want me, workaholic, not going to be workaholic anymore, but past workaholic me want to jump off a bridge. So talk to me about weekly webinars. How did you find the time to do weekly webinars? How do you?
I just did.
Oh, wait, what?
I just did it. I just decided that I was going to set a time every week that I did it. And I started doing this in October of last year. And that I was just going to do webinars every single week.
All right. I want everybody to stop what they're doing. This does not feel very much like a show anymore. It feels like a class, like I'm about to teach you something, and I am. We talked about some genius that Haley would share. We talked about a genius, tip, strategy earlier. This is a genius moment. Her answer was, I just did it. What I extrapolate from that was she picked a common thing, like webinars, and she committed to do it uncommonly well. She committed to show up. She gave it a time, and she said, in Kendrick words, come hell or high water, I'm doing these. Right, Haley?
Yes, ma'am.
How beneficial. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I couldn't be more pleased, 1 being I could not be more disappointed. How successful would you say doing a weekly webinar has been?
It's been between an 8 and a 9.
Yeah.
I'm getting consistent engagement from people, and I'm getting a good number of people every single week. And it's interesting because I'm getting people who join my tribe, and then they start watching the webinars, and then they get upset if they miss a webinar.
I love it. That's a sign that you're putting out quality content, right? When people are disappointed that you are missing stuff. I get disappointed if I get behind on she's my friend. Like, I could pick up the phone and call her. But I get disappointed if I miss one of Tanya Lee's blogs. And it's all stuff I could talk to her about on the phone, but I am just her person. And so I'm like, oh shoot, I'm behind. I've got 3 blogs to read. And I hate it when I get behind, because it adds inspiration into my week every week. All right, Haley, so talk to me about the funnest part. The funnest part of, you obviously like starting businesses or running businesses. I mean,
I'm apparently an addict, right? What? Apparently I'm an addict, right?
Apparently, yeah. I don't want to start another business as long as I live. But talk to me about what it is. What is it for you?
It's really that seeing a difference that I'm making in people's lives and getting to engage with people, and really getting to get that feel of, okay, so what I said and what I told them to do actually made a material difference in their lives. And that to me has been the best part. And that's also true of my home care business or my senior placement agency as well, where we are really making a difference in people's lives. When you get told that you're an angel, that's when you know that you've had it made. Yeah, absolutely. I used to hear, not the word angel, but I used to hear some really moving stories like that as a pharma rep. Like the doctor would tell us because of HIPAA, but we had a patient who
went on Forteo, and this is not a plug for any drug. I probably shouldn't have even said the drug, but I just did, and is able to do X, Y, and Z now as a result. And that's, I mean, wow, what a beautiful thing. So I get that. I totally get that. I think that for me, I don't know if this was a struggle for you, Haley, because you're probably much more grounded than I am. But for me, a struggle for me for a while was I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do exactly what you were talking about here. And I found that the online world is such a giving world. That lots of people go into business because they really want to make a difference. However, I had a hard time wrapping my mind around how making money, starting a business, made a difference in people's lives. Did you ever struggle with that?
Not too much.
Yeah. I see it now so clearly, right? I mean, I see it now so clearly, but even last year, I mean, and we were wildly successful last year. I can remember saying to my girlfriends, all I do is help people make money. And they were like, and? I don't want to just help people make money. But now I realize it's more than that, right? It's about living your dream. It's about believing in yourself. There's a subliminal message, and there's a payoff that I get here too beyond money, and that is beautiful to me. I knew you wouldn't struggle with that. Haley has a Duke MBA, if I didn't say that, so she's a lot smarter. What is the best, since I'm never going to go to Duke, never say never, what is the best piece of knowledge that you got in your MBA in entrepreneurship from Duke that's led to success?
For me, it was the lesson that I can really handle far more than I ever thought possible, and the time management skills that I learned as a result.
Say more about handle more than you ever thought possible.
Well, when I was at Duke, my mom passed away the week before I started, and my dad required 24/7 care the whole time I was there. So I was probating her estate. He needed 24/7 care. I had 4 young children, and I was working a full-time job, and I actually got a promotion while I was there. And there were days when I wanted to go running from the building, screaming like my hair was on fire.
Yeah.
And I learned that it's amazing. You can do a lot to yourself, but if you're taking a little bit of time for yourself and focusing on the things that are the most important and putting one foot in front of the other and doing what has to be done, that you will be successful.
Isn't it amazing? Like the commonalities, and you wouldn't know this because you haven't seen any, but the commonalities that I hear people share in the series about behind the scenes, what it takes to make a million, focusing on what's important, taking some time for yourself, even in, it's difficult to take time for yourself when your whole world feels like it's imploding around you, I would imagine, at least for me it is. But being disciplined enough, sometimes we don't feel like that's disciplined, but I think it is, being disciplined enough to say, I'm gonna take that 15-minute walk, or I'm gonna take that 15-minute bath, or I'm gonna whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you remind yourself to do that? Or does that come naturally for you?
I put it on my schedule.
Yeah.
I deliberately schedule downtime. I learned to schedule naps and time to go get a pedicure and time to take a bath. And I actually made it so that I had a personal trainer showing up on my doorstep twice a week at a particular time. And it's really hard to ignore them if they're ringing your doorbell at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So if you put the framework in place to make it so that it's harder to fail, it's really much easier to succeed.
Another moment of genius from Haley Gray. How do you want to make it harder to fail? I want to make it harder to fail, right? So, or easier to succeed. Schedule it. Marie Forleo says if it's not scheduled, it's not real. And I don't care what, yet still I have a hard time putting things on my calendar that are for me. I don't know why. One of the things I did recently was I have client hours. And so those are the only hours during which I see clients. And everything else goes on a personal calendar. So I don't have to look at work. I like my paper calendar. I like my, so I can jot things down, but during, 9 to 3 or whatever, I'm with clients. And I like that. It sort of feels like a separation of church and state, or work and personal, a personal calendar and a work calendar, if you will.
Yeah, mine's not quite so separate. I have.
Yeah, well, most people's aren't. I'm just a freak like that.
Overlap between the two, but I do have a paper calendar where I write down everything. And I do have blocks where, I have my consultations and that kind of thing set up.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. So Haley, what would you say, because we are talking about money, what would you say if you had to like pull back the curtain and let people see something that you do that helps you make money in your businesses, what is something that, or is there something that they might be surprised about?
Some of the simple things that I do, like batching work, so writing multiple blog posts at once. I've got a reminder system set up with my assistant who reminds me when to write blog posts and get them done. And I keep an eye on how many I've got currently in the hopper ready to go, and I know what's scheduled and when it's scheduled to go. But also how much automation I use. I use
Really?
a lot of automation for like Edgar for posting on social media. And I then fill it in by hand in my group. So not everything is automated, but a good amount of it is. So I keep adding to the automation there and improving it over time.
Great. I love it. So it's interesting because, and this just goes to show you that different strategies work well for different people. So that's why I love having these experts in, because I didn't automate anything for so long. I'm not super techie smart. And so I found that I was spending so much time trying to learn the software when I should have been out with my people. You are technologically very smart, and you have a great system in place. And so I love that you're able to do that. What you take away from this is, behind the scenes of people's business, different things lead to them being able to make money, right? So that's why we're drawing back the curtain, because nobody is going to be able to give you a plan that gets you 100% of the way there. And anybody who's promising that, I would encourage people to think twice about that. I tell people I can get you 80% of the way there probably, but then we're going to have to throw in your likes and dislikes and what works well for you, or it's not going to be a plan you'll stick to.
Yeah, no, you have to really factor in the individual whose business it is before you start talking about the plan and how things are going to work for them, because not everything works for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And if somebody had started with batching with me, and I would have been like, I'm not saying that's where you start, but I would have been like, my head hurts. So, okay, makes good sense. So, Haley, one other question. Actually, I've got a couple more questions. So, where are you from? I don't know why I like to know the answer to this question, but where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up a little bit of everywhere. And so Germany, North Carolina, Texas, Venezuela, and Brazil, and Alabama.
Let me ask it a different way. Where do you call, well, maybe it's Carolina. Where do you call home? Is
North Carolina is where I call home.
Okay. My follow-up question to that would have been Duke or UNC, but we know that already. Duke, right?
Absolutely.
Funny story. My uncle was, I had the night shift at the hospital this weekend, and my uncle was staying with me, and he graduated from UNC, and he was supposed to come in, I don't know, Saturday night. And I said to my cousin who was there, if Carolina gets beat, just call him and tell him not to come. I'd rather do it by myself. I did, like, for those of y'all who don't know, the Duke UNC war, even though it wasn't that game, is real. It's real. Yeah. So, okay, so North Carolina is home. And what did you want to be when you grew up?
What did I want to be when I grew up? I wanted to be an architect.
An architect. Okay. How does that play into what you do today? Or does it?
I think the creativity.
Yeah.
And having to creatively problem solve my way through a lot of stuff, because you think you know what you're doing, and then you realize that things didn't quite work as expected or planned, and having to creatively problem solve your way out of it.
Yeah. And
find a new way to deal with things that's been tricky.
What do you do when everything falls apart?
What do I do when everything falls apart?
Let me define what falls apart means, because we all have these, like, I tried this and it didn't work. I tried this. It doesn't matter if you're trying to make $1 million, if you're trying to make multi-million, if you're trying to make your first 100,000 or your 700,000, or your first sale. We all have times when we run a business when it's just like, I want to cry on the bathroom floor. I don't know why it's the bathroom floor, but for me it is. Nothing seems to be working. What do you do?
What do? I take a break.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is I walk away from it for a bit. I go do something else, and then I start trying to figure out what things I can pick apart and pull apart, because I'm very much one of those people who likes to pick things apart and pull them apart and then find the solution. I may not be like a big, huge problem solver or, no like massive leaps of creativity, but I'm really, really good at picking things apart and finding a solution for them.
Is there a skill set that you had, because you started so many businesses, or had worked in so many businesses and had started one from the scratch? Is there a skill set that you had to learn in addition, or not really? You felt pretty comfortable with what you had?
I've had to learn a lot of skill sets. Sales is not something that comes naturally to me. I'm an engineer by trade. I got my degrees from NC State in computer science, and I was a programmer for 15 years. So having to learn that being a small business owner is 80% sales and how to do it has been probably one of the biggest challenges for me.
Yeah. It's funny because you being an engineer makes sense about picking things apart, right? Like that, it makes total sense. Yeah. Sales is something, yeah, obviously, that I'm a big proponent of. So yes.
Proponent of it too.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay. And so, Haley, let's talk for just a minute about common mistakes. So we talked about the 3 things they need to do. We talked about consistency. We talked about, letting people know that you were here. Is there one common mistake that if you could stand on a podium in front of all online business owners and say, don't do this, what would it be?
Don't hide in a corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see people, they'll put their toe out and they'll be like, well, maybe I was just too visible. Maybe I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that. And it's right about the time that they get to start to be just that little bit of successful that they go and they hide in the corner again. They get scared.
Yeah. Yeah. Fear plays such a part in, and I don't know if people would call it fear, but looking back, fear plays such a part in the way we limit ourselves,
It does.
You may say it's not working. It's not, which is one of the reasons I ask what you did when it's not working. You take a break. It's not working. Nothing I'm doing is working. Okay. We can troubleshoot all that, right? Like you can troubleshoot any of it's not working by picking it apart, but is there a bigger issue? And I'm not saying there always is, but even for me, sometimes there's well, not just even for me, but for me, sometimes there's a fear component that I'm not even aware of. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's fantastic. Do you have a favorite business book?
I really like Nudge is one of my favorite business books.
I'm going to have to write that down. Nudge.
Another one is Predictably Irrational.
And I love that title.
It was written by a member of the Duke faculty, Dan Ariely, and it talks about how people will react in very predictable ways, and a lot of times they're completely irrational, but you can use that against them in some ways.
Ooh, I can't wait to read it. And then while we're mentioning books, Haley, talk about your books. Haley's done it all. Talk about your books.
So I have 2 books that I've written by myself and one that was an anthology that I contributed to. The 2 books that I've written by myself, one is Choosing a Caregiver, which is focused on the senior caregiving industry. And then the second book is Leadership Girl, which is on helping people build their businesses. And it's intended to be bite-sized chunks of solid business information that you need, and not necessarily a massive compendium on how you do things.
I love it. That's one of the biggest things that I see people struggle with, and I struggled with as well, is it's way too big. It's way too massive. Yeah, but I'm ready to go bigger. Yeah, but I'm ready. That's fine. We got to bite-size this down into steps that are manageable in order to get bigger. My husband calls it going from first gear to 5th gear. He's like, you can't do that, Kendrick. Your car's going to stall and your business is going to stall. So, and you deal with overwhelm much better too when you bite-size it. So I love that. Love it. I have to be reminded of that so often. You had a celebration recently about this book. What was it?
That it's a bestseller on Amazon?
Yeah, congratulations. So I should do your bio again, right? Duke MBA in entrepreneurship, best-selling author, starter of 5 businesses, and on and on and on. I love it.
Thank you.
So, Haley, this is something I haven't done before, but I'm going to trust my intuition. And you can say, no, your intuition is off. I don't know why my intuition is telling me to do this. Do you have a question for me? Is there a question for me that you think the people might want to know? I don't know why. I've never done this before. Got a question?
Interesting. Any questions that your viewers might want to know about you?
Yeah. Why is that coming up for me?
So, how did you learn to do sales?
Well, I think part of it is the way I grew up in a small town where the first thing we did was get to know you just got to know your people. My granddaddy told me when I was 5 or 6 or 10, I can't remember, but as a child, you need a career in sales. You're going to be a good saleswoman. And I remember thinking, I wasn't 5, but I'm going to be an actress. I don't want to do this sales thing. So I've always been a little bit naturally good at it. And then when I graduated from college, I learned that the actress thing wasn't exactly going to happen. And I went back to my granddaddy's advice and started selling. So I sold lumber, I sold pharmaceuticals, and just, I would love to say that I had it all planned, but I didn't. It just sort of one step led to the next step that led to the next step that led me here. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I
Yeah.
love it.
I don't know why I had that intuition. That's a weird thing. Sorry, I really put Haley on the spot. So
No, it's great. No, I think it's worth talking about, where you start and where you go and, how you play up your skills and really work.
So, okay, maybe that's why. Why did you had a successful business. You said you're addicted, but you had a successful business with the caregiving business. Why this? Why did you choose Leadership Girl?
Why did I choose Leadership Girl? I think it more chose me.
Okay.
I started blogging when I was at Fuqua as part of their weekend executive MBA program.
Got it.
And I decided that I really liked it. And I had a lot of people start approaching me while I was at Fuqua, asking me to pick my brain about business. And it's something that I've actually done the whole time since I was in school.
Yeah. Fuqua is the Duke Business School. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Haley, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here, to be a guest on the Kendrick Shope Show. That sounds so freaking funny to me. I'm going to have to get used to saying that. Anything else that you want to leave with our people? Is there a piece of advice that anything else that you want to leave with our people who are struggling or maybe not struggling, but growing their business out there and looking to see behind the scenes on what it takes to make $1 million in your business?
I think that if you just stick with it and you keep following your vision and your dream, that you will achieve it. It's just, sometimes it's not real easy to do that, but if you just keep sticking with it, it's amazing how much you can accomplish.
I agree, which leads us to the official sign off. I believe in you and I believe in your business. You can do this. Thank you so much, Haley, for being here.
Thank you, Kendrick.
Bye.
Bye.